Hey, what's going on? It's been a while since my last upload. Life has happened. We've had a few new additions to the family, but I wanted to jump back in, not so much as a phone review, but more so as a comparison between two specific versions of Android. So today I want to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S22 and the Google Pixel 6. Now, I've had each for a little while now, and I wanted to, jump into the details of what I find interesting about the overall user experience and interface overall with both of them. Now, spoiler, I do prefer Samsung's skin of Android 12 running One UI, of course, a bit more than stock Android. Not so much because of the obviousness of customizability, but more so the ease of usability. Quick backstory with me: I'm a product designer at a tech company, so I do pay close attention to how I, as a user, interacts with the overall OS, whether it's unique flavor of Android or iOS, from the way that somebody interacts with an app and its ease of use, ability to adapt to certain actions, and to how smoothly do micro animations load between taps, even if you're navigating through a whole setup of a phone from screen to screen. These are just a few characteristics that I pay attention to when I use a phone for a certain period of time. So without further ado, let's jump in. I definitely want to mention that none of these are make or break features, although they can make a difference on a day-to-day usability basis. And on this first few, I want to talk about the lock screen and accessing more information on that lock screen. So if I'm in a dark setting, for example, a movie theater, and I want to discreetly peek at the time or upcoming events or any notifications without fully waking up the screen, I can do so without having to double tap or hit the power button. All I gotta do is do it with a single tap on the screen. It's really a low-key battery saver, especially for those that love to check their phones pretty often. What's nice is that it doesn't have to wake the screen up all the way to its full brightness. So it's a great little feature to utilize in the settings like that. The other one I wanted to mention is the act of logging in. Now, we all know the Pixel 6 had its fingerprint scanning woes. It's had lots of updates since, but it's still not as quick as Samsung's recent flagships. So let's say you prefer using a PIN to unlock your phone, and I like that Samsung gives you the option to jump into the home screen without having to press the arrow or the OK button to accept. Unfortunately, the Pixel doesn't give you that option. You have to put in your code and then hit the arrow to get into the home screen. Furthermore, Samsung has the face unlock feature where if it detects your face, you can have it to where it jumps right into the home screen. It's not a huge deal, but it is a big time saver for those that love that. So another reason I give Samsung points is how they give you the option to double tap the screen to wake it and use the same action to put it to sleep. Now, this applies to the home screen as well. The benefit I see with this is depending on which particular Samsung you have, where the sleep button is located, it saves you from having to get into any, hand gymnastics just to hit that button. Now with the Pixel, you're having to shift the position of the way you hold your hand in order to get that sleep wake button pressed. The Pixel 6, in my opinion, is a heavy and large phone. I know a lot of people think the same. Even though it's considered the smaller of the Pixel lineup, because of this, it could result in major hand fatigue if you're talking long term. So let's move into the Messages app. Now, this is one that I particularly like since I use that app quite often. Now, it has to do with reachability. On the Pixel, as you can see here, it displays your chat list from top to bottom. Now, that's okay, except that you'll most likely have to, once again, shimmy your hand up there to click that recent conversation you're having. On Samsung, the messages are in a much lower, much more natural area for a user to easily click and scroll. Now, this way you don't have to stretch your thumb so far out. Basically, whether you're holding your phone with your right or your left hand, you don't need to readjust your hands and fingers constantly. Now, another difference in the interface where I favor Samsung over Google is in regards to the home screen icons and scaling. As you can see here, I prefer to position my icons or any clickable widgets for that matter on the lower half of the screen. And on the Pixel, this is as low as I can get it as far as icons. And if you compare the two, the Pixel's icons are higher up and have a bit more padding. And even if I set the icon layout as efficiently as I can, this is the best that it'll get. On the S22, when I go into settings and change that app layout and set it to 5:6, let's say, it gives me the ability to compress the layout to give me just enough spacing to easily reach all of my icons. I love that feature. And this next one is an oldie but a goodie, and I use it every single day, and Samsung has had it for years. And that's the beloved Edge panel, which gives you the option to enable a favorite contacts, for quick calls and texts, different screenshot variations, weather, and even the clipboard. And of course, you can get, a plethora of more panels from the Galaxy Store if you want to make it a lot more robust. And what I love the most about it is that I can have things tucked away and can access them easily with a matter of a swipe from the edge of the screen. And to have so much information in a carousel-like shade makes it really convenient. Major points on this one. Thankfully, there's an app called Panels, which works pretty well on the Pixel. It's a good workaround, but the point is we're going stock versus stock. Google just doesn't have that. All right, now I want to talk about widgets. Now I'm going to use Google Calendar as an example. So both of these are using, obviously, Google's Calendar widget, as you can see here, and Samsung allows for 2 of these Google widgets to fit on one page. So, their interface, as you can see, uses their spacing a bit more efficiently, and in my opinion, it's just a bit more compact, which allows me to see more information on one page. And if you think about it, that sort of subtracts an extra action or swipe that the Pixel had to do. You can tell that it's just not possible. It forces it into another page. And overall, though, Material U's aesthetic just looks a bit overly sized and bloated, and I know a lot of people think that as well. I just know that they can trim it down just a tad. And even if you adjust the font size and the screen zoom, it's not enough to compensate for the larger interface elements of Google. Let's talk about the notification shade. On the S22, the first swipe brings down some toggles and notifications, right? But one important thing for me is the brightness slider. Now, sometimes adaptive brightness adjusts too dim or too bright, so I'll manually override it depending on how it reacts. And it's not pinned like that initially, but what I like is that you can toggle that in the settings, so you can turn that on, which is really cool. Unfortunately, on the Google Pixel, you don't have that ability to pin the brightness slider. You have to swipe 2 times just to get to it. And I mentioned earlier the large bubbly aesthetic of Material U. Look at the toggles. The toggles are just way too big. As you can see, I much prefer Samsung's circular toggles, which can hold up to 6 icons. Again, it's just a more efficient use of space. Allows you to turn things on and off without having to make any extra actions or swipes. That's a big deal for me. All right, we're on the last one. Now this has to do with switching between recent apps. This is where I give points to the Pixel. Now it feels just more intuitive and natural, swiping along the bottom of the screen from left to right or right to left. On the S22, switching between recent apps just feels a bit unnatural, and it doesn't work as consistently as I wish it would. The swipe action is sort of a half moon action, and the transition to me switching from different app cards just feels a bit more jarring. So again, points to the Pixel. Now I know this sounds like a Google hate video, but I know the Pixel has standout features of its own that Samsung doesn't have, like outstanding voice dictation, screening calls, displaying the song on the lock screen. That's great. That could possibly be another video, but for now, these are little features that make a big difference on a daily basis for me. So I give more points to Samsung for this one. So that was just a quick comparison of Material U and One UI on Android 12 between Google's latest Pixel 6 and Samsung's Galaxy S22. And I know there's probably a whole lot more features that lends itself to a much better, smoother, more efficient experience. There's always pros and cons to each. So if you have any input on which OS you prefer or which could improve a little bit better on, please sound off in the comments. If you like the video, if you like the content, give it a like. I'm a one-man show, so all that support helps me out so much. Subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.